Hello, and welcome to my fourth video on pretty much the Constitution. I'd like to go ahead and wrap up the Constitution with this video. So we're going to be going over Articles 2 and 3. And just before I begin, I want to make a few corrections from my first video. The Constitutional Convention was in 1787. Yes, I said 1789. That was a mistake. It was in 1787. So just wanted to go in because I was watching it and I want to make that correction. Anyway, so let's go over the second and third articles, and that should pretty much finish everything up. So Article 1 from my past video dealt with the legislative branch, Congress. So let's go ahead and look at Article 2. Article 2 deals with the executive branch. That's the President, and Article 3 deals with the judicial branch. That's the Supreme Court and all the lower courts. So the first three branches of government are the legislative, executive, and judicial. And they're specified in the Constitution in order of largeness, power, and restrictions. So if you also notice in the Constitution that Article 1 is the longest, Article 2 is the second longest, Article 3 is the shortest of those three branches that establish the national government. And we can also see that Article 1, the legislative branch, Congress, is the most powerful. The executive branch, the presidency, is the second most powerful. And the Supreme Court is generally the weakest. So that's how it's interesting how it corresponds like that. The larger it is in the article, the stronger, more powerful of the branches, but also the more restrictions. The Supreme Court has by far the least least regulations over what it can do and oversight. So anyway, as we know how the Constitution is structured, we have Article 2, and there are 4 sections. Each section is made up of various clauses, so let's just go over each section really quick. Section 1, remember Section 1 in Article 1 was the powers vested clause. It basically established Congress. Well, this is the same thing in Article 2. It establishes the presidency and explains presidential succession, as in with the vice president. So it just establishes the presidency, because before this there wasn't a president. No one knew what a president was, really. We had kings and dictators and prime ministers. We didn't really know what a president was. So it also explains how the president is elected through a group of voters that we now interpret as the Electoral College, which I'll get to in another video. Section 2 establishes the powers and duties of the president, such as being the commander-in-chief of all the armed forces and dealing with treaties and appointments. How that's the president's discretion to start that, and then includes with our federal system other branches of government, that is the legislative branch, the Senate, to approve the treaties and appointments, which is also specified in Article 1. And Section 3 talks about the State of the Union, that from time to time the President shall address the State of the Union to Congress. And that's basically where we get the State of the Union addresses from. Section 4 explains the impeachment process of the President, how it's the Congress's, and in Article 1 it explains the House of Representatives has the sole power of impeachment, but Senate tries the President. And it also explains in Section 4 that the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court will be the judge in this matter. And of course that requires a 2/3 supermajority to impeach the president, with good reason. Let's go on to Article 3. Article 3 is broken up into 3 sections. Once again, Section 1 seems to be a pattern, is the powers vested clause. It establishes the Supreme Court as the Supreme Court of the land. And it's the only court that is established directly by the Constitution. It explains tenure, that the judges of all courtships, even those, remember one of the powers of Congress is to establish courts, lower courts, inferior courts. It explains that the tenure is within good behavior, so essentially for life. Section 2 talks about the jurisdiction of particularly the Supreme Court, because it's the national government we're dealing with right now, and that is anything to deal with ambassadors or foreign countries. And Section 3 deals with treason, defines it and explains the punishments of treason, because that was the main issue of courts back then. Clearly, it does not say anything about judicial review. That has something to do with court cases. Judicial review was not mentioned in the Constitution.